tank. Oh! Welcome back to the AlphaGinger Show, everybody. And I know I said I wouldn't miss a week of giving you fantasy football tips and tricks, but we're just gonna have to move forward. We're just gonna have to ignore that. It happened. It happened for a good reason. I didn't just get lazy. And let's look forward to week 7, because I think week 7 is gonna be a good week of football and a good week for you in fantasy football as well. Doing this a lot right now. It's gotta stop. It's gotta stop. Stop. So let's go ahead and get started on who I think you should be starting this week. So, starting with the running backs. The first running back I think you should be starting this week is Josh Jacobs with the Oakland Raiders. They're fresh off a bye week. They're all healed up, ready to go, and they're facing the Packers, which on average this year has been giving up 34 fantasy points to opposing backfields. That's huge. That's major. And guess what? The only real threat in the Oakland Raiders backfield is Josh Jacobs. So that's a huge plus. Also, Josh Jacobs, when he's been in the game, I know he was on a bye, so that week doesn't count, but when Josh Jacobs is in the game, he has averaged 16.1 fantasy points per week. That is huge. He is easily one of the standout rookies of the season so far, and I think he will continue that success this week against the Packers. So my second pick is a little bittersweet because he was on the Miami Dolphins last year, and he really was doing pretty well for us. But now he's with the Bills, and that is Frank Gore. And I mention the Miami Dolphins because that is who he's against this week. They are up against the Dolphins, who is easily one of the worst defenses against the run game I've seen in years. They're easily just start Frank Gore if you have him. Use him as a flex, so you can use your big shiny running backs, your big stars in your running back slots. Use him as your flex, and he'll probably get you a pretty solid outing. You know, he's been averaging 11.1 points per week, and that's pretty steady. That's pretty consistent. If you look across the board, he's only had really like 1 or 2 weeks below 10 fantasy points, and even on those weeks, he wasn't doing half bad. It's just he didn't score a touchdown, and that might be his only setback is he hasn't really gotten that many touchdowns this year. But look to start him, because he's against the Dolphins, and they're terrible. They're so bad. So very bad. And finally, the last running back I think you should be starting is Derrick Henry. He is up against the Chargers this week, and they are averaging 109 rushing yards allowed. That's a lot of yards. That's quite a few yards. And Derrick Henry is usually the bell cow for the Titans. So he's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of reps out there. I know Deion Lewis takes a couple of the reps, but Derrick Henry is out there all the time. He's a 3-down back, and I think he is going to have a bounce back week this week because honestly, the Titans didn't have a good week last week. I was a little surprised by it. But I think against the Chargers, who are they're just a mess right now. They can't figure out what their identity is. I think Derrick Henry will take advantage of that. I think he'll have a huge day. He'll have a terrific day. Also, Derrick Henry is averaging about 14.6 points per game, which is pretty impressive. So that's a pretty decent haul for a week, and I would say he's easily a running back you should look to be starting this week. Now we move on to the quarterbacks now, and the first quarterback I think you should be looking to start, and I know this will be a shock, Jared Goff. Jared Goff has had a couple rough weeks. Let's be honest. It's been a few rough weeks for him. But I think he's about to turn it all around. Why? Well, the Rams are up against the Falcons, who are surprisingly, yet not surprisingly, doing miserable this year. And more importantly, they are allowing a ton of fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this year. A ton! As a matter of fact, they are allowing the third most QB fantasy points each week. That's huge. And I think, Jared, the Rams are too good to be this bad for that long. I think Sean McVay is going to turn this thing around. I don't see them being this bad. Another QB to start, and it's no surprise, Josh Allen. Why? He's against the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins are just trash. And the Dolphins are allowing 28 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. And Josh Allen also is a dual threat because he runs the ball a lot. And since he runs the ball a lot, guess what? The Dolphins' rush defense is so bad, he'll probably do amazing because we're just trash right now. So if you have a Bills player, just play them, okay? I don't even care anymore. We won the Tank Bowl. We won the Tank Bowl. And finally, the last quarterback I think you should be starting is Gardner Minshew of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is up against the Bengals this week, and the Bengals are almost as bad as the Dolphins this year, except they've been able to miraculously stay in a few games. Still lose, but they fought more than the Dolphins because we know we're just tanking. The Bengals don't know yet. They'll figure it out. They will figure it out eventually. They will. But also the Bengals have been giving up 235 pass yards, per week for 5 straight weeks. That's huge. That's huge. That's a good sign for Gardner Minshew, and he is usually a comeback kid, so if they get down, expect Gardner to get his points there. And at this point, I would like to point out one of our MVPs from the Tank Bowl this last week, Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake got 13 fantasy points this week. I'm very proud of him. I'm also proud that he knew when to drop the pass. He dropped the pass not because he was told to, not because they are tanking, but because he saw the guy behind him about to steamroll him. So don't get on his case for dropping the ball. He did it on purpose. I fully believe it. So good job. You did well in the main portion of the game, and you did even better protecting your body. Moving on to the wide receivers. The first wide receiver I think you should be looking at starting this week, and it would be no surprise if you were already going to start him, DJ Chark of the Carolina Panthers. First off, DJ Chark is averaging 14.2 air yards per target. Per target. That's crazy. That's insane. He's averaging about 18.8 points per game, which is also ridiculously well for a rookie. And he's up against the Bengals, which, aforementioned, has been allowing 235 pass yards per game. So you can expect to see DJ Chark have a terrific outing. Second wide receiver I think you should be starting this week is the Detroit Lions' Kenny Golladay. So first off, Kenny Golladay is easily Matt Stafford's number one target on the field. And he has gotten 8 targets in his last 5 games, which is way more than any other target on the Lions. So look to start him. He's getting the bulk load of targets. Look to start him. He's very good at receiving those targets too. I don't know of a better way to phrase that and make it sound cool. He's good at seeing the ball fly at him, and he puts his hands on it and he doesn't let go like so many other wide receivers these days. So many others. I'm not going to mention any from the Dolphins. They have a pass this year. I'm giving them a pass. 1 pass. 1 year pass. That's it. I won't get on their case. But also, Kenny Golladay is averaging about 16.9 points per game this year. So that's huge as well. So look to start Kenny Golladay this week. And then finally, a name I haven't really mentioned at all before, Brandon Cooks. As I mentioned before, I'm expecting the Rams to turn things around here soon. If not, it's going to get real ugly real quick. They just buffed up their defense, and they made some changes around. I think they're going to look way better this next week. I fully believe that. And I think Brandon Cooks is going to look like the Brandon Cooks we all know and love. And a big reason why is because they're up against the Falcons this week. And the Falcons are allowing the 4th most points to wide receivers this year. So look to start Brandon Cooks this week, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how well he does. This is the most official video I've done on fantasy football so far ever. I actually have stats this time, guys. There's legitimate stats in this video. I've did the research. It's legit this time. It's getting real up in here. If you're a Giants fan this week and you need a number 1 tight end to throw out there in your fantasy team, Evan Ingram's going to be healthy again most likely this week, and he's easily the number 1 target for the New York Giants. That's a good thing for all of you Evan Ingram owners. So look to start him this week. He was on pace to do phenomenal until he got hurt. I don't think the injury will derail him from that success because the Giants need him desperately. Desperately. So look to start him this week, and I think you'll be happy with the result. Now, a tight end I'm a little concerned about, but I would still say start, is Darren Waller of the Oakland Raiders. Now, he has a pretty difficult matchup this week against the Green Bay Packers. They've been pretty stingy against the pass game, but Darren Waller has been a TE1 all year, easily. And the way he plays his role as kind of a receiving tight end, I think benefits him. I think he's in line to continue to get a huge percentage of the targets for his team. And I think that'll result in a still pretty steady score in fantasy points. So I wouldn't bench him. I'd still start him, but there is a little concern there, just a little bit. And then good old defenses, special teams. This week, I'm just going to say their names, and I'm going to say their opponents, and then I'm going to shrug and say, you do the math. 49ers, they're against the Redskins. Do the math. Saints defense against the Bears offense. Do the math. And finally, to no one's surprise, the Bills, they're against the Dolphins. Do the math. And that's all of my must starts for this week. I think if you go with those options, I think they'll do well for you. I think there was only a few on there I had a few little concerns about, but I would still start any of them because they're all doing really consistent this year. And that's key this year. You want someone that is super consistent because I know a lot of people that have some players that have like 40-point weeks and then they have a week that's like 2 points. I'm not a fan of that style. I don't like a player like that. I like consistency because that gets results. But if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Also, comment any questions you have for me for this week in fantasy football. If you have a matchup you're worried about, if you have 2 people you can't decide between starting, ask me. I'll try to answer as fast as possible. And if I don't get around to answering you fast enough, I'll be giving you a message saying, I'm so sorry. Ask again next week. I'll try better. But ask all those questions you have for me. I'll try to answer them best I can. I'm trying to be more of a guru for you on fantasy football. So, also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I try to make videos all the time, and they're not necessarily fantasy football videos. If you look at my channel, I've got some gaming videos that are pretty funny, and I've got impression videos that are even better than the gaming videos. So if you choose my channel, I promise you glory. Again, I'm rambling right now, and I don't think I mentioned it before, but if I ramble, it gets really awkward, and then I do all this, and it gets really annoying. So I'll stop, and I'll just say, as always, don't quit your daydream. Adios. got weird. Weird. I can't even say words right now. It's embarrassing. I'm so sorry, people. Bye-bye.